Hey Flosstube, today I'm going to be showing you how I start a project in the middle of fabric, even if it's a full coverage. Because I've been seeing a lot of people asking, not me personally, but just in groups that I'm in, how to start in the middle if it's a full coverage. I don't know. Or they're like, why do full coverage pieces all start in the left hand corner? And I guess I just wanted to say you don't have to start it in the left hand corner. I know the directions on a lot of full coverage pieces say that they recommend that, which is fine, but it is possible to start in the center as well. So I'm going to do a little demo of how I do it because I start everything in the middle. So the first step is to measure your fabric in both directions, and I just have this here so you can see what it is in case you wanted this fabric. It's Liberty by Hand Dye Fabrics by Stephanie. And she does have it circled as to what size it is, but I'm going to measure it anyway because I do that with everything just to make sure my projects will fit on the fabric before I even start doing anything. So I have some measuring tape here. It's just the fabric kind. So, and I measure from edge to edge, even if it's like, you leave a border or whatever, but I measure from edge to edge. So, this is 24.5 inches width-wise, or I guess height-wise. And then I turn it around this way. It is exactly 18 inches. So it's 18 inches by 24.5 inches because when they hand dye it, sometimes it shrinks, so that's also why it's a good idea to measure before you do anything. Okay, so the pattern I'm going to be putting on this is Rosie the Riveter by Mystic Stitch, and most of the time the patterns will say what sizes the pieces will be. I happen to get 18 count, so it does list it on here already what the sizes are. 11 inches by 14 7/8 inches tall. So this is the width, this is the height. So the pattern goes vertically. So I'm trying to figure out which side I want to use for it. Right at the top, that looks good. Okay, I'm going to do it this way. But basically all I did was, my fabric is a lot of modeling, so I just wanted to pick which direction, like front or back, that I wanted to do this on. Because this is full coverage, but I'm going to skip stitching the yellow here so the fabric shows through. Okay, so I'm also going to show you, and I know I said mine tells me the dimensions here, but if you wanted to do it, say in 16 count, and it's not on here, the way that you figure out how to do that is by the stitch count. So they'll tell you the stitch count over here. It's 200 wide by 266 high. So you take 200 and you divide it by the number that you want. So if you want a 16 count, that's what you would do, and then you do the math, and then you do the same, 266 divided by 16. Okay, so this would be the dimensions if you wanted to do it in 16 count and how you figure out the dimensions. Okay, so after you've figured out your dimensions, you add, if you want to frame it, you should add 3 inches around each side to your measurements. So if this was what I was doing, it would be 12 plus 6, so then it would be 18.5 inches wide and 16.6 plus 6, so it'd be 22.6 inches high. So you would need a piece of fabric that was bigger than 18.5 by 22.6 if you were doing it on 16 count. Okay, so once you figure out your margins, as long as your fabric size that you wrote up at the top here is bigger than your stitch count, then your design should fit. So I'm doing the 18 count, so 11 inches by 14 and 7/8 should fit just fine on an 18 inch by 24.5 inch piece. 11 plus 6 would be 17, and then 14 and 7/8 would be 20 something. So if I ever have a problem where if like the margins don't seem wide enough, then a lot of times I will just try to finish it a different way other than framing. So yeah. Okay, so once you've figured that out, and you figured out which direction your fabric is supposed to go, then you just take it and you fold it in half, one direction, whichever one. And you take some sewing pins, like these, and then you just poke them through the hole. Like that, and then unfold it, and then you've got your center mark for the horizontal, and then fold it in half the other way, and pin it, and you unfold it, and then this right here is your center mark, right in here. So this is Eta, so each box is one X. So right where the pins go, so like right up in here is where you want to start the first stitch. And a lot of times, if it shouldn't poke on the pin, but if it does, you can just put your needle in and pull it through a little bit and then pull the pin out and it should be fine. That's how I always do it. So once you've got that, have a little thing here about interpreting it on the pattern. So this is the pin vertically, this is the pin horizontally. So when you're in your pattern and you find the middle of the pattern, the line vertically, that's the middle, is just the boxes that correspond. So depending on which color you want to start, you can just pick like whichever side you want, so you don't have to start in right up in here. You can start up here, over here, or down here. You just have to make sure that you're obviously just following where the pattern goes. So most patterns will mark up at the top. There's like an arrow and it'll point down to what the center is. But now I'm going to tell you how you can find the center of the pattern. So like measurement wise. So like you're going to use your stitch count again, 200 wide by 266 high. So 200 divided by 2 is where the center of it will be. So you can use the arrows on the pattern, or you can just do math. Okay, so it'd be 133 high. So in the pattern book, you know how it's gridded, so like 10, 20, 30, whatever. You would find the page that has the grid 100 wide and 133 high on the same page, and that's where those two lines cross, that's where the center is. I hope that makes sense. Like I said, usually the pattern will mark it for you and it should be fine. And sometimes I've had these measurements be off a little bit, but it's not by so much that if you've done like your measurements and stuff, you should know that it'll fit. So I'll do my 18 count again thing. And so this is the middle here. So it is 11 inches across. So 11 divided by 2 is something like 5.5. So if you're really like worried about it, you can just take your measuring tape, find the center of the pin, mark where the middle is, and then like measure out and then see if it'll fit. And it will. So there's that. And I think that's all that I have for how to start something in the middle, even a really big project. So I hope that you found this helpful, and I'll see you guys on the next video.